Hello everyone. So I wanted to end my trip in Iceland telling you about some of the things I found interesting, maybe some tips for those of you that are thinking about coming here, and just overall what I learned. Let's start with the fact that Icelanders are serious about their water. So they have commercials on TV that tell you how delicious this water is, and it's better than water from anywhere else. And it's basically like, this is our tap water. If you go to any restaurant, they don't even ask you if you want tap water, they just bring it to you. And I will say it's pretty good. I'm trying to think, like, compared to New York City water, which is also really amazing, what's better? I don't know, but all I know is Icelanders are no joke serious about their tap water, and it is really good and really cheap, free. The next thing I wanted to tell you about that surprised me is that there's some animals that they eat here that were rather unexpected. You see puffins at all stores and statues of puffins and street signs with puffins. Going on a puffin tour. Unfortunately, they're very small and far away and fly fast and are hard to really capture. But apparently they go puffin hunting here, and this is one of the few, or maybe the only country left in the world where puffins are still allowed to be hunted, and puffins are eaten at restaurants. Another item that I found rather surprising, let me show you the sign. And we were just sitting eating, and then I casually kind of looked at the sign thinking like, no, this is probably a translation mistake, but it wasn't. They eat horse. And there's so many beautiful horses when you drive around the countryside here, and they're like really majestic looking. So every time now I see a horse, I just feel like really sad. So I wanted to share a little bit about food here in Iceland because it's very expensive. So here, for example, I have a cauliflower burger, sweet potato fries, yum, and a salad. And any guesses how much that costs? That is $24. And then this is a seafood and cheese fondue, some potatoes, and that costs $34 US. So not horribly pricey, but probably in the US you could get each of these for $10 cheaper. So it adds up, but definitely food is much more expensive, and a lot of people will say to bring your own food. We did that. I brought almond butter actually, tuna fish in cans, some crackers, but also are eating out at least once a day to get the Icelandic experience. So ice cream is really popular in Iceland, which is kind of like funny because you think people would want to stay warm, but this came to almost $8. So $8 for 2 scoops of ice cream. First is that we're on an island, but the second reason, people are paid a fair living wage so that they don't need to work 20 jobs, that they can live comfortably off their pay, whether they work in a restaurant, whether they're a taxi driver, whatever they do. So basically you pay actually what something is really worth instead of taking advantage of human labor. What that means is there's no tipping system, right? Because in the US, for example, we tip waiters because they only get paid $2 to $3 an hour, so they couldn't live off their wages. Gas is really expensive too. Yesterday we filled up half a tank and it came to almost $50 US. We have a medium-sized car. But pro tip, if you're traveling here, you need to actually call your credit card company and ask for a PIN number, because at the gas stations you need a PIN number. We were able to use Apple Pay, but it's not so easy to pay for gas here. Something that I loved about the culture of Iceland is that swimming pools are a year-round phenomenon. They are like a cultural center. They're where people go to get together. They're inside, they're outside. But something interesting, because you would think, well, it's cold here all year round, right? True, but all the swimming pools are heated. So it's no problem what time of year it is. And the one pool that we went to, they even had this tub where you can dunk yourself in cold water in case you get like sick of the hot water. I was like, I'll pass on that. Something interesting about Iceland, and difficult for me at least, was the conversion of the money. Icelandic money is called koronas, I believe. I think, right, like our beer. And if you look at the coins, what's really cool is that they actually have animals that live in the ocean. The exchange rate is about 117 coronas to US dollars, so it's a lot of mathematics, but not only that, where we would use a comma, they actually use a period with the high conversion rate, and then the period instead of the comma. It gets really confusing. So again, it feels a little bit like Monopoly money, so you have to get used to that. Iceland is a small country, so there's not many people, and what ends up happening is a lot of people are actually related to one another. So if you're in the dating pool, you have to be a little bit careful, right? To not date your first cousin, for example. I learned from my friend Hrefna is that there's actually a website where you go in and put your name and the name of the person you're dating, and then they will let you know if you're family. If you're in Iceland and you're dating and you're Icelandic, you better check out who you're dating. If you're not Icelandic, I think you're probably okay, but I don't know, better safe than sorry, I guess. The Icelandic language is very different from English. We learned that there's about 80 words they have to describe the weather. There's just 3 words to denote that there's no wind. They are not so big on talking about feelings and emotions. My only Icelandic friend was telling me that they've been watching The Bachelor and The Bachelorette here, and they're like amazed at how people always talk about the feelings and how they where they stand in the relationship, but feelings are just not something that people talk about openly. Icelandic people keep that more to themselves. And something you may have noticed if you look at signs or names is that they're super long. We had a tour guide yesterday that said that some of the names look like a cat was like just messing around on a keyboard and strung together 50 letters, most of which are consonants, right? But she explained why that is. And basically what they do is they string together descriptive words that are very literal, that describe a certain place. Like for example, it may be like a tall, rocky waterfall. And instead of saying tall, rocky waterfall with spaces in between, it's tall, rocky waterfall, right? So to Icelandic people, it's just like words, putting words together and being very clear about where a place is or what its surroundings look like. So that kind of helped me. Okay, so change of scenery, the light outside changed completely, so I had to readjust myself. But I'm gonna tell you a little bit about the driving. When you're driving outside of Reykjavik, there are 2 lanes, one going each way. So they're very narrow, first of all, and second of all, there's almost no shoulder, which matters because there's often bikers, like serious bikers with gear that makes their bikes even wider. And so you have to really pay attention when there's curves. You always keep your lights on because the weather conditions change all the time. And they have these electronic monitors that tell you how fast you're going. And I know we have that in the United States, but what's unique about those is that there's some reinforcement. So if you're going at or below the speed limit, you get a smiley face. And if you're going above the speed limit, you get a sad face. I got a smiley face! Yes! Makes me not want to speed. What I liked least about driving here in the countryside is there's a lot of little bridges, but I don't know why they couldn't make the bridges 2 lanes. They're 1 lane, and there's no traffic light on either side, so you have to kind of negotiate with, if there's a car coming from the other way, who's going to go first. Something else about Iceland, and there's t-shirts about this, is that the weather literally changes at the drop of a dime. So at one moment you can be outside and it's a little bit of sun. It doesn't get that sunny here. Then all of a sudden it's super windy, and then you're like, oh, it's raining, I need my rain gear. You put on your rain gear and 10 minutes later the rain stops. So it's just around the clock. Weather changes everywhere you go, so you can't even get too tied into how it's going to be for that day. Something I wanted to talk about is clothing for Iceland. So I had to get what I now know is called gear. The first thing you should know is that you need hiking boots. These are like CrossFit ones. I like them. They look a little like moon shoes. So I got a couple pairs of wool socks to keep me warm. And then the next thing you need is hiking pants. You can't just throw on jeans and sneakers. The jeans are gonna get wet, you're gonna be miserable. So you need pants that are also water resistant, that will keep you warm, that you can layer. As many of you know, I'm not the most avid hiker, or even a hiker period. See how I do with the hiking, but I'm feeling very official in this gear. Something I should say is it's not cheap, but I think it's important. The last thing I want to tell you about is that Icelandic people are very happy.
My name is Hrefna Guðmundsdóttir, like Björk, the singer Guðmundsdóttir. That's because my father's name is Guðmundur.
Why are Icelandic people happy?
The thing is that in time of needs, everybody has someone to rely on. Very strong social connection. We are very few, and the weather and hardship has made us really, we have to stick together, otherwise you don't survive. And the second reason probably is that we have really low unemployment rates, so there's a place for everyone. I mean, we have not been in wars, we are on our island, so yeah, a story of peace.
So all this to say that Iceland is an amazing place. I recommend that you come here, that you see the different parts of the country, meet the amazing people here. And finally, I want to end with an Icelandic but goodbye and say, bless.